Hello, everyone. This is part 9 of my story, Married to an FBI Informant. So here I am now in the middle of something that I don't know how I got myself into. So I'm sitting there. There's FBI, federal agents, local law enforcement, everywhere. They're basically going through every inch of the apartment. Everybody that's there is sitting down and they're basically telling us not to talk to each other. And they keep on asking him, where are the drugs? And he's saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And so the one guy with the ski mask on takes it off and shows his face. And lo and behold, it's the federal agent that went to bat for him when he cooperated with the government the first time. And so now he knows he's in big trouble. And so they're going through everything. They don't find anything in the house. But like I told you before, one of his friends had got popped by the feds and had told them all the information they needed to know. And so they literally hadn't even been investigating him more than a month. And they said, how we thought we would never hear your name again. And he was just sitting there looking petrified. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Well, eventually they go through every inch of the place, don't find any drugs there. He's sitting there and he's whispering to me, you don't have nothing to worry about. So I'm thinking I literally don't have anything to worry about. And so out of nowhere from outside, I hear jackpot. And then they say, stand up and put your hands behind your back to him. And so he's saying, it's not my drugs. It's not my drugs. And he looks at me and he says, tell him that it's not my drugs. That's your drugs. And out of nowhere, my dumb ass said, well, what if it is my drugs? And they looked at me and said, stand up and put your hands behind your back. You want to play this game? You can go with them. So now I'm about to be escorted out right along with him. And one agent walks up to me and looks at me and said, are you related to such and such? And so I'm pretty much like, yeah, that's mine. He was like, I know how disappointed your family should be. You have no right to be hanging out with this type of people. And so I'm not thinking anything of it. And so they completely escort me down, hand me over to a local officer, and the officer puts us in the back of the patrol car together. And so while we're sitting in the back of the patrol car, we witness all the guys who were inside the place, everybody affiliated with this situation, shaking hands with the agents. They have like a clipboard. They're signing something on there, and then everybody is just walking away. And so they end up taking us down to the county jail and booking us in. But before we were booked in, they had me and my now ex sitting side by side. And so he's looking there with like tears in his eyes, and he's basically telling me, please, 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 I really need you. I need you now. Please, can you tell the people that that's your drugs? You don't have no criminal records. You don't have anything on you. You couldn't get any. They will not give you any time. I promise you, they won't give you any time. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm telling you, please, they can't prove anything. Just say that it's yours. And so I'm sitting there and I'm actually pondering this, like actually thinking about this, because I'm looking at him and he looks so devastated. Like he doesn't know what's going to happen next. And so I'm pretty much like, okay, okay. So I'm telling him right now, okay, yeah, I'll tell it to them. So now I'm being arraigned, and they're basically charging me with a possession with intent to distribute. And I'm confused because I never possessed anything, nor did I distribute anything. And so they give me a bond for $10,000. And so I'm taken back to my dorm. But before I make it to the dorm, me and him pass each other in the hallway. I guess he's on his way to get arraigned and get a bond hearing. And he looks at me and he said, don't forget what I said. And so I keep on going. So I'm basically now making phone calls to my mom and my dad and whoever else I can call, saying, I got a bond, y'all come and get me out of here. Well, my mom is telling me, well, the agents have called us on the phone. They really don't want you. They just want you to tell the truth. You done put yourself in the middle of this with him. I just really wish you would just leave him alone. Now I'm sitting there, and I'm literally sitting there for like 2 days. Then they bring me out again, and an attorney comes to me, and the attorney basically is telling me, he's a federal attorney, and he's like, hey, the big dogs are on this case. So I don't know what the big dogs is. The big dogs is I guess the feds. And he's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think they really want you. But they're gonna want you to cooperate with them. You're going to have to tell them the truth about what really happened. And so I'm pretty much like, okay, yeah, because I don't want to be in jail. I'm terrified. I want to get out this place. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll tell him the truth. It's really not my drugs. It's really his drugs. And so he was like, well, that's all you need to tell them. Like, I'm going to reach back out to them. Here's my card. You contact me if you need anything. So maybe 5 days passed, and now they're calling me ATW in a county jail. Of course, I've heard ATW in there, and normally when they call it, that person leaves. And so I know that means that I'm leaving now. So I get up, grab my few items, and I walk out of there. And so when I get out, they take me back down the hall the same way I came, into a little area to dress myself back out with my belongings. And then after that, I'm walked into another area, and then I sign some papers. They tell me, hey, this is some information you need. This is your pending court date. And so I'm just taking all this stuff, and then I go to a little area. I pick up the phone. I call. My dad answers the phone. And I'm like, Daddy, they let me go. Come and get me. He said, I'm on my way, sweetheart. And so eventually the next day comes. And so me and my mom, I get up that morning, and she drives me down to the federal building. I get there. It's like they're doing all this screening, ask me for my identification, what's my name, who I'm there to see. And so I'm basically like, well, I have an appointment. I'm supposed to be here this morning. And so they take me in. And so they take me in, and I remember sitting in like a waiting area. And then some regular dressed guys came out that looked like some guys that could just be hanging on the corner. And so they came out and basically walked me into this room. And so I'm sitting in this big room. And when I happened to turn my head to the side, I happened to see one of the people who had been hanging with him, shaking hands and smiling, just walking with all these federal agents.